I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and I thought the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view was alright. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was alright. The biggest issue coming out the back of it, though, is that the women's match main evented the pay-per-view, and it shouldn't. Why? Here's why. Before you all go off in the comments, I know how YouTube works. I am 100% behind not only the women having show closing matches, but also getting to a point that when they do have a good match, it's just a good wrestling match. Doesn't matter that they're women, because wrestling is wrestling and good is good. The problem when it comes to Hell in a Cell though is WWE's back and forth about whether they should have put Sasha and Charlotte on last. It was already an historic night because it was the first time two women had ever been in the structure, and for my money, that should have been the only Cell match on the show. It would have made it feel like an even bigger deal, and as we know, the two know how to up their games. They do it and prove it all the time. In this sense, the WWE did do a good job in promoting that fact. It was mentioned on most Raws that this was the first time two women had ever been inside the Hell in a Cell, and it did feel important. But what didn't feel as important was the fact that they were the main event. None of us actually know what's true and what isn't true, so we're going to have to buy into a bit of hearsay and rumour here. But it seems likely that Vince McMahon wasn't sure whether they should go on last, and everyone else was like, nah Vince, put them on last. But the decision wasn't made, probably, until the weekend of the show itself. And that is not doing anything, or anyone, any justice. If that was the case, the first time women ever main evented a WWE pay-per-view should have been held off. That is not only a big deal, but it's a long overdue deal as well. If you make that decision, go crazy with it. Get people on talk shows to talk about it. Tell your wrestlers to talk about it on social media. Do not stop going on about it till I'm at home going, man, this is a big damn deal. Whatever you do, do not make the call minutes before the show starts. And you could argue that it doesn't really matter, that nobody cares, but I think if we turn our attention to something like UFC, we have evidence to prove that it does. When Ronda Rousey did main event UFC 157, which was also the first ever women's match in the organisation, Dana White and his band of friends wouldn't shut up about it. It was on posters, it was the entire focus, and it overshadowed everything. And guess what? It felt like a big deal because it was a big deal. When all was said and done, everyone felt like something special had gone down. There'd been a changing of the guard, and now we could all move forward. Now, that doesn't mean that more doesn't need to be done in terms of perception of female athletes in the sporting world, but this felt like a start, and it felt like something important. If we turn our attentions to Sasha Banks and Charlotte, I don't think the same due was given. That's nothing to do with the wrestlers either. I thought they had a pretty decent match, and while you can pick some holes in it till the cows come home, we're not going to do that because none of us have any cows, and if you do have cows, that's weird. Unless you're a farmer, then you're allowed cows. But not properly building the entire pay-per-view around them feels like an error in hindsight, and probably pre-sight too. Just doing it for the sake of it is never as good as building and letting that seed grow. We could have looked back on October 2016 and gone, that was the month when something historic happened. And it deserved to be so much more too. Everyone in that division has busted their ass to change public perception, and big marquee pushes by the company help with that no end. What doesn't help is dilly-dallying. Dilly-dallying is no good, don't dilly-dally. Still, with that said, I've been going through Raw from 2002 recently, and some of the things that used to happen on those shows, good grief. At least, we don't have to go through that anymore, and that's not an excuse. What happened back then is still absolutely terrible, and perception isn't really reality, but at least now we have women main eventing pay-per-views, and in 2002, I'm not even getting into it. I mean, good grief. But that doesn't mean we should skimp on things in 2016, though. If anything, we should try even harder to tear these bridges down. But even with all that said, Hell in a Cell is still a landmark pay-per-view, and hopefully it builds to other things. It's still the main event at WrestleMania, right? So yeah, Hell in a Cell was important. WWE did make some big decisions, but it just could have been so much more. We should have treated the first ever main event by the women in a pay-per-view as like the moon landing or something like that. Go to town on it. The fact they weren't sure, they should have held off. They didn't, it still happened, that's good. But going forward, WWE, believe in yourself. I believe in you, we all believe in you. Make this stuff happen and make it feel like the biggest thing in the world. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you think, and then like, share and subscribe. It'll make you feel good. Then come follow me on Twitter and talk to me about all this at Simon Miller 316. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and today I'm sending you nothing but happiness and joy, because sometimes happiness and joy is all you need. I'll see you soon.
WCPW proudly presents True Legacy. Featuring a quarterfinal match from the Adam Pacitti Tag Title Tournament. Moss and Slater versus Mustache Mountain. Nixon Yule defends her WCPW Women's Championship against Kimberly in a street fight. The Mexican sensation El Ligero defends his WCPW Internet Championship against the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne.
Oh, it's true, it's damn true, believe me.
The local hero Joe Henry challenges the righteous killer Joseph Connors for his WCPW Championship. And for the first time on British soil, in front of 2,600 WCPW fans, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle versus the grandson of a plumber, Cody Rhodes. True Legacy Part 1, Saturday, November 5th, 8 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern. Part 2, Saturday, November 12th, 8 p.m., 3 p.m. Eastern. Or watch True Legacy in full and on demand on WhatCulture Extra from November 4th, 8 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern.